Standing by, the Terry and Ted podcast is sponsored by the UPS Store Canada.
Well, I'd like to start by saying good morning. Good morning and welcome to the Terry and Ted podcast. I'm Terry, that's Ted.
Or good afternoon or good evening, depending on when you're listening. We're recording during the morning.
What I've been hearing is from a number of people, including Jess's Aunt Barb, is Wednesday morning, people are making their coffee and sitting down. These, I guess, are the retired folks, and putting the podcast on like it was an old morning radio show. And
I guess,
that really, really made me happy when I heard that. Thank you, Barb, and everybody else who's told me that. So good morning if that's what you're doing, and hello wherever you may be, because we've also been getting mail from all corners of the universe. And you're right. I wasn't exactly sure how to start. So,
it was the look on your face.
The constipated look. We've been pretty good with our old man noises, though. We haven't made many of those. Would you tell me, please, if I start to make old man faces?
Yeah, I would tell
Please.
you. Just what is an old man face?
Well,
though?
I saw a guy that I was familiar with, like a famous person, on YouTube yesterday, and I hadn't seen them in a while, and they'd aged a little bit, and that's understandable because we all do. But there was it was like he had a tick. So there was a lot of while he talked.
Right.
And it reminded me of somebody that I knew very well in Montreal, whom I will not name. And as he aged, he did a pursed lip. He had a pursed lips tick. So when he talked, he would.
And he didn't do that before?
No.
Wow.
And I wondered if the other day I was walking through a store and I was unconsciously biting my bottom lip. Doing that?
Yeah.
And I thought, why am I doing that? I've never done that before. And I thought, I hope that's not the entry to. I had too much time on my hands. I'm retired now.
I'll let you know.
Let's say thank you to our good friends at the UPS Store Canada before we get started today. We got a lot of things on the docket today we're excited about. So we'll start by saying thank you to the UPS Store Canada.
They've been title sponsors of this podcast, I think, for 3 seasons now. David Drucker is our great and good friend, and we keep calling him the emperor of the UPS store, and I keep looking up on LinkedIn his profile so that I can get it right, and then I forget what it says,
right?
And I default to emperor.
Yeah, well, he's the CEO,
President and CEO, I believe, of the UPS Store Canada, and a Montrealer and a longtime friend of ours, and a very successful businessman. Who is the same guy. I didn't know David when he was in high school, but I'll bet you he's the same guy today that he was back then.
Well, I go all the way back. David's had a number of businesses over the years, and I go all the way back to 1985, I think, with him. And he was working at Stereo Shop, and then it was Stereos for a while, and then it was
Stereos and such.
Yeah. Old National Lampoon reference. And then it was cell phones. And I had the same phone number for like 1,000 years. I think
I still have the same phone number that he gave me 30 years ago.
Exactly. That's how long we've known David.
Yeah.
And David saw a business opportunity when he was down on holidays in the States. He saw a company and he thought, wow, this is a really great idea. And I won't tell you the long, complicated story, but it led to him opening up the UPS stores here in Canada. Now there are over 400 of them. And I say this all the time, no matter where you are located, you'll find one near you, whether you're in Gatineau or you're in North Bay or you're in Winnipeg or Langley or Drumheller or Saskatoon, Edmonton. There's a UPS store near you. It's run by somebody that lives in your community. They're all franchises, and they are all run according to the standards that David holds, and these are high standards.
Yep.
You'll be well looked after when you go into a UPS store, whether you're doing that for your business or you're doing that for something at home. You want to ship something to your son or daughter across the country, or you've got a business that's starting to grow from the basement of your house. They can give you a post office box. They can accept your shipping. They can do your shipping for you. I mean, anything that you can think of that needs, that surrounds a business that needs solving, UPS Store Canada can do that for you.
You can find them online and the location nearest you at the upsstore.ca. Last week, you referenced the old Kmart commercial about you can ship your pants.
That's right. Yeah.
And several people sent in the video.
Yeah.
Like off YouTube, and said, "This is what you guys were talking about. This is it. This is the ship your pants."
So clever.
Yeah,
it's so clever. It was such a great idea for a commercial.
So we thought we'd share it. I had never seen it before.
No,
this was the first time I saw it.
Okay, here you go.
Right here? Ship my pants? You're kidding.
You can ship your pants right here.
You hear that? I can ship my pants for free.
Wow. I just may ship my pants.
Yeah, ship your pants. Billy, you can ship your pants too.
I can't wait to ship my pants, Dad.
I just ship my pants, and it's very convenient.
Very convenient.
I just shipped my drawers.
I just ship my nightie.
I just shipped my bed. If you can't find what you're looking for in store, we'll find it at Kmart.com right now and ship it to you for free.
I think my favorite is the kid.
The kid.
I can't wait to ship my pants, Dad. Oh, yes, you can.
Yep. Well, not that David wants that as his slogan, but
No.
you can indeed ship your pants at the UPS stores.
And so many people took the time to send that video in. I thought we owe it to them to play it. So thank you if you're one of the folks who sent that in.
Wanted to mention that before we continued. We've been really, really pleased. Did I say before we continued? That's not proper English, but that doesn't matter because it's a podcast.
Yeah.
So
you were speaking French all weekend anyway.
That's true.
Yeah.
I was doing my best. We want to, we set up an email account. Actually, my wife Jess set up the email account. It's standingbythepodcast@gmail.com. Standingbythepodcast@gmail.com. And we've been thrilled with the mail we've been getting. Thank you so much. Ted looks at it every day. I look at it every couple of days. And I want to say hi to a couple of people who reached out. Pardon me. Tim Brochu, longtime fan of the Terry and Ted extravaganza
Former
over the years.
Mix 96 Mighty Yuck hockey player.
Absolutely. Marjorie Howie and Jeff Weinstein. Marjorie sent us a note. Last week on the podcast, we were referencing a show called... yeah, there you go, Terry. Nicely done.
Do your old man face.
Yeah.
bite your bottom lip. Maybe that'll help you remember.
Yeah, it's a anyway. It's
something inside something.
Yeah,
the side of the
no
inside out.
Nobody wants this.
Yeah,
that's what it's called.
Nobody wants this. Inside Out.
Yeah, on Netflix with Adam Brody and Kirsten Kristen Bell. Anyway, the premise is Adam Brody. My wife and I loved it. Adam Brody is a rabbi, and Kristen Bell is the woman who's falling for the rabbi, and all of that ensues when the religions clash. She's a shiksa. Anyway, Jeff Weinstein and Marjorie Howie are a longtime married couple. And on the back of her motorcycle, she sent me a picture of her vanity plate, and it says Shiksa. Yeah. It was just terrific.
Yeah, big ass Harley from the looks of things, eh?
Yeah, they must be real bike fans. So appreciate that. And Mike Sullivan, who's a long-time, born and raised Montrealer, but is a long-time Calgarian now, also enjoys the podcast. And we appreciate the feedback. Because we've been getting a lot of feedback from ex-Montrealers around the world, literally.
As far away as Japan.
Yes.
Got a note from MJ DiRocco, who said, "Greetings from southern Japan, Terry and Ted. If the YouTube numbers look wonky and say you have a follower in Japan, that would be me. Been a long-time listener since your Showem and Mix 96 days, living in Japan for almost 15 years, and I'm so happy to hear the podcast as it brings me back to my hometown of Montreal when days were simpler. Just wanted to say hi, and I love what you're doing, and thank you for doing it. Hope you can keep at it for a while longer. And I sent him back a note saying, where are you exactly? And I think he said Fukuyama. I lost that part.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Jess saw that note and she said, do tell people on the podcast that it's not geo-blocked.
No.
So you can literally listen to us anywhere in the world. And once again, if you want to shoot us a note, we'd love to hear from you. Standing by the podcast at gmail.com.
Also, Sam from the Rosemount High class of 83 lives in Maryland now.
Cool.
And has for the last 20 plus years. And read about us in the Costco magazine.
That's terrific.
Yeah, so that tipped him off to the podcast, and now Sam listens on the regular. Thank you, Sam.
Last week, just as we were ending the podcast, I said hi to Neil Hyman, who was the usher at the Bell Center, who retired after 40 years. I got a note from him right away. It was like the old radio days.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, it was absolutely terrific.
That's nice, and we appreciate it. Don't think that we don't read them and that we don't appreciate them, because we do.
Yeah. Should I give the email address again?
Yep.
Okay. I want to put it in front of me on a piece of paper because I don't want to get it wrong. Standing by the podcast altogether, standing by the podcast at gmail.com. Did you watch hockey on Prime last night?
I watched about 10 minutes. I gave it about 10 minutes, and then I had to go back over to RDS because there's nothing better than Et Le But from Pierre Hood.
Well, just his play-by-play, because on Prime, there's a lot of this, I'll tell you.
Well, you know what? I didn't. Jeff Khalil, who watches and or listens to the podcast on the regular, pointed out last night when I said that, it was men's against boys in broadcast terms, as Michel Therrien once said. Jeff Khalil pointed out that they're not as bad. They're better than Hockey Night in Canada, and I'll give them that. Yeah. I find Hockey Night in Canada unwatchable now.
Yeah, we both agree on that.
Yeah.
And the play-by-play guy, whose name escapes me, was the longtime announcer, was a long time, because they haven't been around that long, play-by-play for the Kraken in Seattle.
Yeah.
And I guess he's picked up this job as a much bigger audience, national exposure on Prime. And Jess, my wife, who's a massive fan, said she recognized his voice right away. And as I was looking him up, I said that's because we watched a lot of the Kraken when we lived in BC.
Yeah.
And
it was their studio panel that I wasn't a fan of, as I'm not a big fan of the Hockey Night in Canada studio panel. Mark Messier was the only one of the three that I recognized, and I didn't give him much of a chance, and I found they had Gary Bettman on, and I found Mark Messier was struggling for words, and just great hockey player.
Yeah.
But, it's not a seamless transition into the broadcast booth.
No. Speaking of Gary Bettman, a lot of people were saying this morning and last night after that broadcast that he dropped the hint that that's where broadcast rights are going to go, is to streaming. And I'm fine with that because I'm a Prime customer. That's how come I was watching the game last night for a little bit on Prime. But what really ticks me off about the money I've already given Prime, I've already given you money to be a streaming customer, and now I got to watch all these commercials.
Yeah, that seems wrong, doesn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
But what do we know?
So they're double dipping.
Well, that's what, And Jess said to me, well, what do you expect? Of course. But that's it. I guess that's where the broadcast rights are going to move. And I don't know where that leaves people who can't afford all these streaming services.
Well, I can't, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And the only reason I'm on Prime, I shouldn't say this publicly, is I got somebody else's password.
Yeah,
that's how I watch.
Well, they're
Prime.
coming for you now.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I don't know if anyone's at Prime is watching or listening to the Standing By podcast.
Speaking of that, did you finish watching the Prime Face-Off hockey series?
No, I've only watched the first episode.
Oh, okay.
I'm overwhelmed with everything there is to watch, and I was at a Thanksgiving dinner the other night. And there were guys talking about, hey, but have you watched the Detroiters? Yeah, I watched the whole season. Have you seen this? Yeah, I watched that. The Righteous Gemstones. Yeah, that's great. And I'm going, where do these guys have jobs? I'm not working and I don't have the time to watch all that. I find it overwhelming. The amount of content is overwhelming.
Yeah. There's the thing I'm referring to is there's a series. If you're familiar with the Hard Knocks series for the NFL, it's kind of what Prime was trying to do with their series called Face Off, and it was really good because it was big budget, and over the course of 6 episodes, they follow different players, and it culminates with the Stanley Cup.
Culminates.
Culminates. Thank you. With the Panthers winning the Stanley Cup, really quite good. If you're a hockey fan, I highly recommend it. And I finished watching The Rebuild, which is the Canadian production on Crave, and it was focusing on just the Montreal Canadiens, and it wasn't bad, but I thought the storytelling was kind of weak.
Yeah.
And the episodes were sort of all over the place, and you didn't really get to know.
Yeah, well, the history of the Montreal Canadiens isn't much of a story anyway. How are you going to jazz that up?
Yeah, that's just my opinion. If you're a hockey fan, don't miss it. It's pretty terrific. No, it's not great storytelling, but if you're a Habs fan, you should watch it. And if you're a hockey fan, you should watch the Prime series Face Off. And one more thing about streaming and television. You will like this, Ted. You've got Netflix?
No.
Okay. So
I don't even have anyone's password.
Now I
got to work on that.
At the end of October, you can watch the trailer on YouTube now. It's a documentary called The Comeback, the 2004 Boston Red Sox. And holy shit, does it look good.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can come over and watch it with me.
All right.
Okay.
I was off the Red Sox bandwagon by then.
Were you?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah, I was off the Red Sox bandwagon after Carl Yastrzemski retired. He was my hero.
2004 was a hell of a story.
Yeah, it was. It was a great story. Yeah.
So
and the fact that they came back from 3-0 against the Yankees just made it that much better.
Did you follow through on your invite for Thanksgiving?
I did. I went to my friend Zach's
Very
place.
good.
Zach's parents, George and Stephanie, had me over, and that's where I was with the gang who were talking about all the streaming shows that they watch. Bob the Bulldog was there. Bob and I were both quite confused. We weren't used to being with that many people at one time.
It was a big gang?
So we just hung out together. Oh, yeah. There must have been like 20 people there, 25 people. Yeah, extended family.
Wow. Extended table, I guess, too.
Yeah.
Put the leaf in the table for that one.
Yeah, there was the kids' table and everything. I'm sort of like the local orphan. It's the same thing that my old friend Jerry Forbes' parents used to do when I lived in Toronto. Like 40 years ago, and had moved away from home down east. They would always have me over on special occasions. They would always make sure I was taken care of.
I love
which
that.
was nice. Mike and Nora Sheehy.
My late great friend Per Larson that lived in Stowe, Vermont, in Stowe, because it's a ski town. There are lots of people that go to that ski town to work seasonally, and Per would have Thanksgiving. American Thanksgiving is so big such a big holiday. He would have, and he called it the Orphan Thanksgiving dinner because people that had moved there from Utah or Chicago or whatever for the season, they couldn't get back for Thanksgiving celebrations with their families. So he would also have this massive dinner. It's a lovely and very Thanksgiving-y kind of thing to do.
It is, for sure it is. Mike and Noreen Sheehy. I want to make sure I get that right just in case Jerry's watching. Sorry, Jerry. I don't want to get your mom's name wrong.
Jerry Forbes, in case you don't know, is a massive radio star in Calgary for 1,000 years and did so much good in that community.
Yeah. Like you, a Canadian Broadcast Hall of Fame member.
Yes, he is a Hall of Fame member. Yeah. That is right. Let's say hi to Sugar Sammy and thank him for his support of this podcast. I was talking to Sammy last night. I should open the phone and look at the email he sent me. The amount of shows he's sold out are just unbelievable. I talked to him last night. He was in Toronto. I don't know where he gets the time. He was in Toronto for business meetings last night, and then he was coming back to do shows this Friday.
Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, and then he's going to France to do Talent et très beau
France
en
a
France.
beaucoup de talent.
Oui. It's the French version.
That was my Burgundy accent, by the way. I also have a Côte d'Azur accent and a Normandy accent.
it's like America's Got Talent, only it's the French version, and Sammy is one of the judges and has turned into quite the television star in France.
Yeah, as you say, he can't walk the streets there without being recognized.
He's just added a 9:30 show for this coming Friday, October the 18th. If you're listening to this on the morning of release, that's this Friday, the 18th. And he said to me in his note, absolutely the last show in 2024.
It's last call. That's the only show you can get tickets for, not only in Montreal, but in this country for Sugar Sammy for the rest of this year.
Yeah, and then he says, I got to head off to France for TV, and then he's going to do Coast to Coast in January and February of next year. But he told me, excuse me, he's going to be touring cities he hasn't been to before. So
in Canada.
So if you're listening to this somewhere else in Canada, keep your eyes peeled for Sugar Sammy. Go to sugarsammy.com to get the tickets. And if you don't grab the tickets for this weekend, that's it. C'est tout, Manu. That's it. That's all there is.
Close to home in Gatineau. He's added on his website Friday, January 17th and Saturday, January 18th. And instead of a ticket link, there's a sign-up link. And I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm assuming if he's put those dates and those venues on his website, that means he's going to do shows there. So I guess you're signing up to get in line for tickets.
There you go. If you're wondering why he's so popular, you just got to go see him to understand how good he is, how great he is with the crowd, or go to his website.
Follow him on social media, and you'll see how good he is. But there's no substitute for being at the show and watching the show in its entirety.
Yeah, we've seen him live a bunch of times, and as Ted says, there's no substitute for that. It's a pretty cool story that he was doing his regular crowd stuff and tangled with a guy that worked for the Canadian Space Agency, and he had some fun with that, and then he posted that clip online and he tagged different people from different corners of, I think he tagged somebody from Longueuil, he tagged NASA, he tagged the Canadian Space Agency, and they all got back to him.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was very, very cool. It's a lot of fun. He's a great follow online. And sugarsammy.com is where you can start.
And he's a great guy too. The guy you see on stage, that's Sammy.
Last night I was talking to him on the phone, and Jess was in the room, and I had him on speaker, and we had a little conversation about this, that, and the other thing. And when I hung up the phone, she said to me, he's such a good and decent and kind guy.
Yeah.
And somehow through the biting comedy that he does, because he doesn't shy away from any topics.
No.
That decency and kindness comes through.
Yeah, he has a likability that's undeniable.
Yeah.
And irresistible.
Yeah. Oh.
Hello, Sammy.
sugarsammy.com. I'm sorry I didn't get back to you quickly yesterday. Was it yesterday I slept until 9 or the day before?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get up at like 3.
I know. I think you hold off emailing me you wait until 7, but you're up at 5.
So, yeah, I often am. Yeah, and it doesn't matter what time I go to sleep. It's from 40 years of getting up in the middle of the night. I guess old habits die hard.
It's funny because I've been able to conquer that.
Yeah,
I think I stir around 5 and then think. And roll over.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about Finnegan and your other cat, but my cat comes in and wakes me up when she's hungry, which is always.
Yeah. Usually, it's usually Finnegan is the older cat, and he usually gets finjected, as I call, because Jess will get up and put him outside the room.
Yeah.
And,
finjected.
What time did you finject? Because I sleep through it, and then when he gets really, really mad, he does the on the door.
Scratching on the door?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we talking about our cats?
We are.
Oh, Christ. Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Recall humor.
Yes.
Should we bring our guest in?
I think we should. Maybe that will bring some dignity to the proceedings.
Yeah, restore some decorum.
By the way, how was dinner?
Dinner was great.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it a classic with the stuffing?
Yeah,
and the whole,
yeah. And I bought a pumpkin pie at Costco,
Yeah.
and I called Zach and I said, I've got a pumpkin pie, but I don't have whipped cream. And he said, don't worry about it, Mom. Always make sure we have whipped cream. And I said, well, I know she had whipped cream the last time I was over. And it went right over his head.
Okay, bye. I was a guest at Jess's grandparents up in her family all lives not too far from us in the Laurentians, and we went there for dinner, and it was really delicious, and we had a lovely time. And my French gets a little bit of a workout.
I was going to say, a good chance for you to practice your French. Living up north now, you're going to be functionally bilingual, if not fluently.
But you know what? Jess sent me to the Tim Hortons up near our house the other day, and I was driving there going, latte vanille, moyenne avec de lait, latte vanille, cappuccino glacé. And I got to the drive-through window. Oui, bonjour, votre commande? And I said, oui, je vais prendre une latte vanille. And he said, anything else? My point being, he was kind, he was friendly, he appreciated my effort. But a lot of people are completely bilingual, which shouldn't be a surprise to anybody.
Yeah, there's a guy named Danielle who swims at the Point Claire Aquatic Center often the same time that I swim, and he's unilingual francophone, and so I'll speak French to him. And he knows that I had the epilepsy diagnosis, so he always asks me, how's your health? And I said to him the other day that that I'd gone for the EEG and I was waiting for the results, and I wanted to say to him, but I feel good. I feel fine.
Yeah.
So I said, je sens bien.
Right.
And he nodded. And there was a pregnant pause, and he went, je me sens bien.
Right.
And I thought, oh, okay, it's one of those verbs, whatever it's called. And he explained to me that je sens bien means I smell good. So I'm glad I felt good. Otherwise, if I would have told him I smelled terrible, je sens terrible, Dan. Je sens comme Pepe Le Pew.
It's a good way to learn, though.
Yeah.
When people are patient and with you and appreciate the effort, it's a really good way to learn.
Yeah, I could tell he didn't want to correct me, but he thought, if I don't correct him, he's going to go around telling people he smells good.
The Birdman's losing. He's telling everybody he smells good.
Yeah. I better go get our guest.
Yes.
Yeah, we've kept her waiting long enough.
We should also say we have lovely conversations with Louise en bas.
We do.
There's a parking lot here at the studio where we record the podcast, and she is so lovely and so patient with us. And we have a lovely conversation with her en français every time we come in.
For 10 minutes.
And she's very, very tolerant and very, very lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't have to. Ted has invited company, and we're going to take a little pause. So you'll hear a little bit of music. If you've downloaded the podcast, you'll see a slide up on YouTube. Don't go away. We'll be back in about 20 seconds. As promised, we're back, and we have company. Ted, I'm going to let you introduce our guest.
Mrs. Petty is here and insists that I call her Ginger.
Yes.
Good morning, Ginger.
Good morning. Good morning, Ted.
Morning, Ginger.
Ginger Petty has a resume that's about 10 miles long, and so I'm not going to go through it all because we'd be here all day. It does include the Wharton School of Business, however. Mm-hmm. And what else? Corporate sales in the travel industry on Fifth Avenue in New York. Did I get that right? It's very, very impressive. But Ginger is here in her capacity as the founder and board chair of the annual Toy Tea, which is a Montreal charitable event, the 33rd annual. And Terry, you had mentioned before the podcast when we were speaking with Ginger that it rang a bell with you.
It did, from my days at CJAD and my longtime friendship with the Kundal family. Excuse me. I'm sure at some point Mrs. C might have mentioned that to me, and it rang a bit of a bell. But we'll let Ginger tell us about it. Ginger, I'm curious about. I don't want to delve into your personal life, but did you grow up in the States?
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I came to Canada after I married my husband, a Canadian from Montreal, NDG, and I met him in a taxi cab.
Wow.
Yeah, married him 9 months later. And
Wow.
came up to this very strange
That's a
country.
whirlwind romance.
And let me tell you, Americans do not know a lot about Canada.
Yeah.
I have to admit that.
Wait, was this in New York?
New York City.
You
Yeah.
in a cab in New York
Yeah.
City? It's like it's like a setting for a movie.
Oh, he was absolutely worthwhile.
Yeah.
You know a good one, you know a good one.
Yeah. So he charmed you?
He had ambition for his country. He was
Okay.
really a marvelous person to be with. He loved Canada desperately, Quebec, Montreal. He loved the people. He wanted to see Canada thriving and prosperous with jobs for everybody. That was his dream.
Can we say who he was?
George Shaw Petty,
Okay.
Petty.
And what is George's legacy? What was his...
He died 18 years ago. His legacy. Well, I'll tell you, a big one, I think, is about once a year, someone comes up to me and they say, we miss the likes of George Petty.
Wow.
He stood up like a man, had his own ideas. He stood behind his ideas. He was very pro-Canada, and he would speak up and do something about what he believed in. Not just talk, but there was an action involved. Taking
businessman?
ads out in the newspapers, whatever.
Businessman? Political
Businessman?
insider?
I'm not sure what a political insider was. He certainly followed politics in the United States and Canada closely, involved with some conservative groups, involved with the Liberals. But he was outspoken. He
Nice.
spoke his mind.
That's nice.
Good. I like people
Yeah.
like that.
And not afraid to speak his mind.
Yeah. You know, one of the highest compliments I was ever paid was from my own son after I was fired for something I said on the radio. He said, Dad, the thing I respect about you the most is you stand up for what you believe in and you speak your mind. So it sounds like I might have liked George and he might have liked me.
And that's not easy to do sometimes.
No, especially these days.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially these days. The 33rd annual Toy Tea, and
Yes.
you're the founder, so you founded it when you were, what, 7, 8 years old?
All about. I hope you don't look
How
at
am I
my
doing?
age. My age is getting up there. However, I was in Westmount and knew about an organization, the American Women's Club, who had a toy tea to raise toys for the children of battered women living in shelters, especially one, the West Island shelter. And they came to my house to have their event for a year. And I said, this is such a great idea and opportunity. How about raising toys for more shelters? And they weren't very keen about expansion, had other ideas. So I took over the toy tea, and the first thing I did was I called up the Shalom, the Transition, and the Loja Femme, and I said, do you need toys? Well, you can imagine the overwhelming positive response. And we raised enough toys the next year with friends of mine giving me names of their friends, community leaders, even a credit card list that her husband had.
That's great.
I'm not sure she ever told him. And we had plenty of toys for the 3 shelters. And then the shelters found out that I was raising toys for Christmas and Hanukkah and the holidays. So they called me, and I hate the word no, so I'd say yes. And we were up to 30 shelters.
Wow. It's a really, I don't want to use the word quaint, but it's a nice idea. Have people over to the house and, pour them a tea and have some sandwiches and make sure everybody gathers.
And brings a toy.
Yeah, exactly.
A new toy, non-violent,
Yes.
not wrapped, because
Right.
we have to be accountable that it's
Right,
safe
right.
and new. And it was fun because the girls all
Yeah,
socialized.
you had a nice time together.
Have tea
Such
with
a great
cucumber
idea.
sandwiches and a little sherry.
Yeah.
And, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Have you
very
ever done
nice.
high tea?
I know, but Jess and I are going to be in England in December, and we've already booked our high tea.
Oh, is that right?
I must confess, I'm 66 years old, and I've never had a cucumber sandwich. Is it something I should look forward to?
Well, of course. It's very healthy and light diet.
They're very nice.
So tell us about this year's event and how people can get involved and what you're looking for from folks.
The Toy Tea graduated from my home when I sold it in Westmount to Tudor Hall at Ogilvy's. We had 15 years at Ogilvy's where we decorated in different themes, and we had hundreds and hundreds of attendees. And being 33 years of age, even a 33-year-old can sometimes use a little facelift and a little bit more energy and something different. And continuity is the important thing here. We do make a difference. We raise the toys that are needed in almost 30 shelters. So every child who has been in shelter that year is invited to a Christmas party. The shelters give a new toy to every one of the children. And then the evening, of course, Christmas Eve, there are toys for the children who are there at the shelter instead of in their own home. And so we have to raise, if we're going to do the job well, and we do, and that's our goal, that's our success rate, is 2,500 new toys this year.
Wow. Where can people get information? Is there a website?
Oh, absolutely. Very easy. toyteamontreal.org.
Okay.
And if I can repeat that later on, I would really like to.
Yeah, and we'll do that a number of times for you, and make sure maybe we put a link up when we put our YouTube video.
All the information is there.
Yeah.
Now, this facelift, to have continuity now and actually do a better job, more successful in the choice of toys for children. We are now at a private location, and it's only private because they've asked me not to use their name commercially. But if you go to the website, toyteamontreal.org, the information is there, and it's a fabulous, fabulous location that many and most people have not been to.
Is it Pub Koozie in St. Anne de Bellevue?
No, it's not a bar.
Not a bar. It's not a restaurant. But
No.
I can tell you,
And it's not a church.
it's a historical, beautiful location. It's that Montrealers will be very familiar with.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's magnificent.
Yeah, it's elegant, and it's a storied building.
And then even better, on top of that, for Christmas, they decorate that location so fabulously on the interior. It's gorgeous with a multitude of different Christmas trees and colors. It's happy. And as we have always done, we've had schools come in and entertain, public and private. And at Ogilvy's, we were up to 22 schools because we had so much space.
Right.
This year, we're going to start all over again. We have 4 different schools singing. And these little kids are great.
Yeah.
And they're in grade 4, grade 5, grade 6. And they've been waiting every year to get into that next grade so they could come to the Toy Tea and sing or entertain. And they're beautiful. They're
Ginger,
fabulous.
did you have, what were your Christmas traditions at your house? Did you start decorating like early? Did you decorate? Is there like a tradition in the house when the kids were younger? I'm just curious because I love Christmas so much. I'm curious about what you did.
I always did the Christmas tree and sometimes garland on the staircase and decorate the garland. That was beautiful. And it always had tremendous meaning and religious meaning to me as well. When I started the Toy Tea, not only did I decorate indoors, but I decorated outdoors. And we had the best full-size sleigh with reindeer all decorated and made from pine boughs in front of my house on Lexington Avenue in Westmount.
I love
and
this.
I played Christmas music until midnight every single night. And we had lights on the sleigh and we had this beautifully handmade Santa Claus and moving toys, teddy bears and soldiers in the sleigh, and they were moving all night long.
Oh, wow.
So this one night...
It must have been the hit of the neighborhood.
Well, I woke up one night, and it was like midnight, and I looked out the window, at the sleigh. And down there is this beautiful Filipino family, little kids all in their snowsuits, and they came to see the sleigh. And the children were touching the deer made from the pine trees and the pine boughs. And they were just, it was like seeing this sleigh and Santa Claus was so meaningful to them. And I must admit, I had the nicest neighborhood in the world. They never once complained about so much Christmas.
That's lovely. Did you start that? Did you have like a hard start date? Like, okay, once Thanksgiving's done, we're going to do it on a certain, we set up on November 10th, or did you just, when the first snow fell, or when you started to feel the Christmas spirit?
It was always, of course, in December.
Yeah.
And oftentimes I would do it earlier in November. Christmas spirit. Tell the truth, I don't take down my Christmas tree.
That's fantastic.
My husband passed away. I've got some space, so
Yeah.
I keep my tree up all year long because it's a lot of work to take it down and decorate it.
Yep.
Plus, it makes me feel good
Isn't that
all the
sweet?
time.
That's sweet.
And I thought, I'm sort of crazy, but I'm not. I've been talking to people. I'm not the only one that keeps a Christmas tree up. Not many, perhaps, but I'm not alone. And so I have a birthday celebration or people coming to the house. I turn it on and they feel good.
That's lovely. I love that
Why
story.
not?
And when my nieces and nephew were young, I would pile them into the car, and I would make note of streets that were full of decorations or something spectacular, like obviously you had on Lexington, and it means the world to people. It really does. Because that's one of the ways that a lot of people who may not be able to celebrate fully or, may not have what everybody else has, being able to go and experience that sort of Christmas thing for nothing just by walking or driving up and down streets means the world to people. So good on you.
Well, Halloween is sort of like that.
Yeah.
And we used to do, at my home, a very big Halloween too. And so when we sold our house, at that time, I always knew how many kids had come to the house, and I told the new buyer, I said, you're going to have 900 kids coming here on Halloween. He says, you're crazy. That's impossible. I said, I go to Costco and buy 900 fabulous full candy bars.
Oh, you're a
and
full
I
chocolate
know
bar house.
Big time.
There you
and
go.
I know how many kids come. So,
word spreads when you're the big chocolate bar house. Word spreads like wildfire.
I actually had kids come to my home because of the entertainment outdoors as well as the candy bar, and they had sheets on from the hospital.
Oh wow!
Can you believe that?
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, honestly, came in sheets.
Wow!
October.
Wow!
To my home. Yeah.
That must
Ginger, sorry, the
make
toy.
your heart sing.
You bet.
Go ahead. Sorry, Ted.
The Toy Tea is an ambitious project, and I know it's not your only philanthropic or charitable endeavor. What inspires you to give back the way you do?
Well, to tell the truth, I'm very blessed, and much has been given to me, and I believe in giving back. But I'm pushing 81 tomorrow, actually.
Happy
What?
birthday.
Oh,
And
happy
thank
early
you,
birthday!
Thank you. Oh, well, you're my present. And this is great. I like
81.
being here.
Wow.
And so I spent a month alone. And I said, how would I want to spend the last 20 years of my life? And I was in Florida. I hit some golf balls. I looked at pickleball, and I said, maybe I'm a little too old to start that. I played bridge with the girls and did things, but they didn't make me happy. What makes me happy is my community service. And I worked up from doing very little 50 years ago, and I just love doing the big things and making a difference in a big way. My next project will be starting a toy tea in Boynton Beach, Florida. There's a tremendous need for children in areas far, far away from the ocean. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's that. When I hang up my boots, that's when I do my last community service project.
Wow.
You're not too old for pickleball, by the way. I play.
Oh, do you know how many people break their ankles?
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah. I have a friend who's an ankle doctor. He said, don't even try it.
Okay, let's recap.
Yeah.
So what's the date? What's the website?
Okay.
What's all of the info
event.
we've got? Yeah.
The event is November the 29th. And what we're doing differently with this facelift that we need is we're selling tickets. Now, the ticket sounds high, but let me explain where the money goes to. It's $175. Don't fall over it. And the first $100 buys 4 new toys. And we buy them wholesale. And since we have the wish list from the shelters for battered women and children, we know the age and the gender of each child. So we can shop for those kids extremely efficiently. And I don't know if you've been to Toys R Us lately, but the price of a toy, $25 hardly gets you anything.
Yeah.
But we need the 2,500 toys. The mathematics are, give me money, $100 for 4 new toys, and we will buy wholesale. And I'm very honored to say that the wholesaler is not making a cent on us. We are receiving his price. I am so proud to be dealing with them. Probably shouldn't mention that it's White Knight that's doing it for us, but they're such fantastic, generous people. I have to give them a plug.
Of course.
And we are therefore efficient with $100 worth of toys. You don't bring a toy now. That's changed. We buy for you by you buying the ticket. And then $75 covers our costs for the high tea, with the scones and the tea and the coffee and the entertainment and the use of the club and the tips and the taxes. So we break even. And this is what we do. We don't pay rent. We don't pay salaries. Our website was donated to us. We are given so much support, you wouldn't believe it, from the community, because this is women-based basically and men, but it's people. It's the Montrealers making a difference. And it's a wonderful way to make a difference for a $175 ticket.
What night of the week or what day of the
It's
week?
a Friday.
Friday?
We're doing 2 sessions, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. That way we have 250 people in the morning attending, 250 in the afternoon, and the schools will be performing both sides of the day, and we will have enough toys.
And the website? One more time?
Just in case you forgot.
Yes.
Yes, it is toyteamontreal.org. All the information about Toy Tea is there, and even my name and number if you have any questions.
Okay, great. If I was wearing a hat, I would take it off to you, Ginger. It's lovely, lovely, lovely to meet you, and congratulations on such an outstanding effort and the time that you've put in, and what a wonderful project. What a nice way to give back.
You just watch. Next year, this will be the hottest Christmas event to attend in the city of Montreal.
And I hope you'll come back to talk about it.
That would be great.
Okay.
And happy birthday. You're going to
Oh,
love
thank
your
you.
40s.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, I'm just getting warmed up.
Ted and I will be right back. Boy, did I enjoy meeting Ginger Petty.
Isn't she lovely?
Wow,
Yeah.
she's just terrific. And I could have talked to her for a very long time, obviously a long time Montrealer. And it must have been, I know there's an interesting story
Yes.
there.
Yeah, well, obviously
From the taxi to Montreal.
Obviously an establishment figure as
Yes,
well.
for sure.
But
Yeah.
but very humble.
Yes.
And modest.
Kind,
And
lovely.
And
Yeah.
she's also an honorary colonel with the Grenadier Guards. There's a whole episode of
Yeah.
the podcast right there.
Now, what does that mean, Ted?
Well, that means that she's got a military affiliation, like
Yeah.
our friend Steve Gregory, who
You're
we
right.
had on the podcast a few seasons ago to talk about his Operation Husky, where he takes folks over to Sicily and
Right.
retraces the steps of the Canadians who fought and liberated Sicily, and some of whom are still there because they made the ultimate sacrifice. Steve's an honorary colonel for the 2nd Field Artillery Regiment. It's just someone who's not necessarily a military member or ex-military, but is actively involved in military affairs. They often get appointed as an honorary colonel.
And she's quite excited about it because
Yes.
after the interview ended, we were showing her to the door, and she told us about some of the exciting things she's going to do
another
next
event
year.
she wants to do next year.
Yeah.
So she'll be back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you're like, well, what are you doing with the tea lady? I just want to say now that
Get some class.
Yeah,
For one thing.
yeah, but you know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Not
Yeah.
everybody. But what I want you to understand about how we feel about the podcast, there's a kind of a jokey tagline: everything you miss about Montreal radio. When I was hosting the radio show, people who were doing things for the community were welcome in my studio anytime. And I used to drive program directors crazy because I would have people in to talk about local charity things, and they would talk too long, and that means you didn't get to hear Boston for the 10,000th time because I was trying to, let people in the community tell people about the community.
And it worked.
And it worked.
Yeah.
And so when Ted said, can we have Ginger Petty on? I said, yes, that's what the podcast should be doing. We should be helping Montreal organizations do what they're trying to do. And obviously, she's very dedicated.
And she's an interesting and engaging person.
Exactly. So that's part of what a Montreal-focused podcast is going to do. We're going to have guests from time to time and try and help them out with their local events. You're still laughing at the tea lady.
I am.
Yeah.
What are you doing with the tea lady?
Yeah. Well, what we're going to. Some people are going to say,
I was asking Ginger if she's familiar with Robert Ree Jewelers, and
Yes.
she said, "Oh, there's not a jewelry shop I don't know." Pierre from Robert Ree is back from Antwerp.
Oh, he's back.
He's
Wow,
back.
cool.
He didn't bring the diamonds with him. Apparently, they're shipped.
Yeah.
Like you don't put them in your carry-on.
Yeah, your backpack. Where's my backpack? Yeah, that's probably. We would not be head of security.
No, we
for
would
the
not.
jewelry
Yeah.
shop.
Anything to declare?
Yeah.
As a matter of fact.
Yeah.
No, the diamonds will be shipped. I spoke to Linda yesterday, Linda Riche. She says the diamonds will be shipped probably in about a week. So whatever Pierre is bringing back that he handpicked for clients who had specific orders for him, or that he handpicked to bring back to put up for sale here. Pierre Soucy, who is the resident gemologist, along with his wife Linda at Robert Ree Jewelers, goes to Antwerp, the diamond capital of the world, twice a year, and by invitation gets access to the diamond cutting factories. And I don't know if you saw any of his pictures that
I
he
have
posted.
been, yeah.
It was an interesting mix of tourist pictures and inside the diamond industry pictures.
Yeah.
And some of those trips for two to Las Vegas are still up for grabs. If you buy a diamond that Pierre brings back from Antwerp worth $4,000 or more, then Pierre and Linda will send you to Vegas for 3 days and 2 nights on them.
That's unbelievable.
As a thank you for purchasing a diamond. 309 Dorval Avenue in Dorval, and online at robertriche.ca. But never mind on. Well, you can go online and look.
Yeah, go have a peek.
Yeah, actually go to their Facebook page and look at everything that Pierre did when he was over in Antwerp. It's fascinating. And then go to the store.
Go meet them.
Yeah, meet them. Not only see what they have, but meet them. They're
just
such lovely people.
Yeah. And as I say every time we're doing an ad for them, don't be intimidated.
No.
They will not intimidate you. Even if you just want to go look, they'd be glad to show you some stuff. And you don't need a jillion dollars to buy something really, really lovely.
Diamonds and a whole lot more.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
This would be the time of the year to start looking for something like that. If you've got that special someone, you want to buy that special something for Christmas, start looking now.
The website company Wayfair, they ran a Christmas ad during the NFL yesterday, or Sunday. And my reaction was, piss off.
Well, no, but it's going to be here before you know it. It comes fast.
But everything now is like it's like you're just drying yourself off on the dock when people want you to celebrate Halloween.
Yeah.
And then weeks before Halloween now, it's like, all right, start thinking about Santa Claus. Like, could you just let me breathe for a minute, for Christ's sake?
We just talked to the tea lady. Lay off.
I just want the summer to wind down before you start hitting me over the head.
All right, let's do the tweet sheet and have a couple of laughs and relax Terry, shall we?
God!
Three of the funnier tweets I found this week on. Well, if you're listening and not watching, you know that Terry's already seen this one on the screen. Go back to that first one, Matthew. Go back to the one you had on before. From @BobTheSuit. Sorry, I brought an air horn to your colonoscopy. Scare the shit out of the doctor. What the?
Yeah. You bring that to the recovery room where everybody's farting.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a hit.
Yep, it
From
sure was.
@DaddyJew. Me. I'll have a Dr. Pepper. Waiter. Is Mr. Pibb okay? Me. Is he a doctor? That's not a dad joke. That's like a bubby joke.
Yeah.
That's a Jewish grandmother
Yeah.
joke.
Yeah.
How many Jewish grandmothers have you heard say,
Yeah.
my grandson's a doctor? And lastly, on the tweet sheet this week from @Brick Mahoney, just farted myself awake like some golden retriever. Have you ever seen a dog fart itself awake?
Yeah. Yeah. What was that?
That was you, Jingles.
Yeah. Well,
You need to go out.
dogs are handy to blame it on too.
Oh, yeah.
Come
Yeah.
on, get out of here, Skippy. Jesus. This is an odd segue, but when I saw the word colonoscopy, I thought to myself, let's remind everybody that number one, you think it's worse than it is, and number two, it's so important to make sure that if you're, I think they say over 40 now, that you
Oh,
look.
really? It used to be over 50, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
a lot of people, apparently, there's a huge increase in people being diagnosed with colon cancer at a younger age. And it's such, I mean, I avoided it for so long because I was so frightened of it. Now I've had 4. And it's not that I think they're a party because it's a surgical,
You get free drugs to knock you out. That helps.
Yeah, you've got that, and there's a really good excuse for just farting up a storm when it's over because your gut is filled with air. But it's one of those tests where when they check you, the doctor knows right away. Like, they look at the camera, they look at the results, and you wake up and the doctor says, yeah, we took a couple of polyps out, but you're fine. And it's just an important thing because I don't know if it's, where I'm at in my life, but I've just been at too many funerals and I've seen too many Facebook posts about people who've battled cancer, and I'm sitting across from somebody who battled cancer.
I had symptoms, so I went and I got a
Yeah.
colonoscopy, and the doctor came in. Boy, I wish I could remember his name because his bedside manner was so good. He said to me, we found something, but it's operable, treatable, and curable, and we're going to take care of you.
Good.
And I took him at his word, and they did take care of me.
Yeah.
And within the year, I was cancer-free and have been now for, 8 or 9 years.
Yeah, please go. My doctor, Dr. Uman, that I see, he talks about prevention all the time. And I know a lot of people are afraid of doctors. Hey, listen, I get it. Some people can't find a doctor. But endeavor to make sure that you have these regular tests because you want to be around for a while.
Yeah.
So sorry to bring you down, man.
No worries.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that.
Still waiting for the results of my A, B, C, D, E, G.
When are you going to find out about that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, if I find out when I find out.
Yeah, if you're wondering, Ted had an episode one night and was diagnosed with
3. Well, I had several episodes
Yeah.
actually, and was diagnosed with epilepsy. So
Yeah.
they sent me for the EEG, and I'm waiting for the results. No news is good news. I always say when it comes to medical results.
Yeah. I think if there was something
Urgent?
they would. That would be bad if they're looking at the results. Hey, David Lee Roth is 70. That's a bad segue too, but I wrote that down because I thought to myself, what? Huh? Like I get the concept of time, but isn't that surprising to you?
Actually, my first thought was only 70.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've heard And I don't want to rain on his parade, but I heard that he's not the singer that he once was.
No.
Like apparently he did some shows in Vegas and he just wasn't hitting those notes anymore.
I think you have to, when you decide to go see artists from that era, I think you have to expect that it's not going to sound like it did when you were at the Forum in 75. Like Jess and I went to see Rod Stewart when we were in BC, and it was fantastic. It was terrific. It was entertaining. He was in fine form, and his voice was in relatively good shape for a man of his age.
Yeah, well, he's got to be 80.
Yeah. But, Wake Up Maggie, like when you're singing that song, you can't expect that it's going to sound like it did in 1976.
No.
And I don't know if you watched Saturday Night Live this past Saturday. Stevie Nicks was the guest. We were very excited to see Stevie Nicks. And she sang her new song, and her voice is relatively intact, but some of the tone is gone. And it's not as sharp and clear as it was, but she's 76 years old.
Yeah.
When you think about your grandmother, being on stage singing Stand Back, I think you got to cut them a little bit of slack and expect, like Jess and I are going to see Paul McCartney in December. Now, Paul McCartney is...
Where are you going to see him?
In England.
Okay.
And he's, I've seen him a couple of times because Jess is a massive fan, as you know. That's an understatement. And I've seen him a bunch of times with Jess now, and his voice is not what it was in 1964. But I don't expect it to be. But the experience of watching a Beatle sing Magical Mystery Tour, that, for me, that makes up for it. I'm not like leaning in saying, he missed that note, or he doesn't sound like he did when he's singing Hey Jude. When you're standing in front of Paul McCartney behind a piano and he's playing and singing Hey Jude, that experience is priceless.
There's another Beatles documentary coming.
Yes.
This one from Martin Scorsese.
Yeah.
Now, do you think people like my kids' age are going, okay, boomers?
Yeah, listen, I hope not, because we've talked about this before. This is the celebration of their American tour back in 64, if I'm not mistaken, and I might be. And it's on Disney Plus, and everybody in our house is very excited about it. But I always say... when I was 15, I knew who Tony Bennett was.
Yeah, and I knew who Frank Sinatra was, and I listened to my dad's Frank Sinatra records, and I liked them.
Yeah, and I knew who Glenn Miller was. I didn't have Glenn Miller records, but I knew who Glenn Miller was and what kind of impact he had. And I don't know if it's different now or not, and I don't know if people are saying, shut up, I want to see Sabrina Carpenter.
I think it depends, and it depends on the open-mindedness and the musical tastes of the person. For example, my son Sam, who's 25, I made a Black Sabbath playlist for him. He loves it.
Yeah.
He loves it.
Yeah.
He can't get enough of it. But then last week, there was a video on a football game of a big fat linebacker from, who were they playing? It was the New Orleans. And he intercepted a pass in the end zone, and he was running down the field and pushing his own teammates out of the way. And so I took the video, and then I took the ludicrous song, "Move, bitch, get out the way, get out the way." And I sent it to Sam, and he sent back, "That's such a dad tweet."
Why?
Because ludicrous is old news.
Yeah, I know that, but it's funny because I know the play you're talking about. The interception.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, he responded to the video. He said, "You made that, didn't you?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I could tell." And I said, "Is that good or bad?" He said, "It's neither good nor bad. It's just a dad tweet."
It reminded me of the fridge. The refrigerator.
Yeah, that's what he looked like. Yeah, big fat guy.
Yeah, the refrigerator was a Chicago Bear.
William Perry.
In 1985 Super Bowl, Chicago Bear. Blah, blah, blah. Let's say hi to our friends at Acutech.
You were saying to me in the car on the way here that one of our sponsors is using the services of another one of our sponsors.
Yeah.
It's become very incestuous.
Yeah, it's terrific. Acutech is an electrical company that reached out to us and wanted to be part of the podcast. And when we spoke to them, the first thing we found out about them was the business started in 1995 by Tom's dad. A family business that starts out the hardscrabble way, slow but sure, growing the company. And family businesses that still exist today exist because people learn how good they are at what they do, and they trust them. And God knows, as we say all the time, when you're dealing with electrical wiring, you want someone you can trust.
Don't call a hobbyist.
Yeah. Don't let Uncle Al do your wiring of your house, and
Especially if he's been into the bingo.
Yeah. And at this time of the year, we were talking about this last week on the podcast. It's generator season, and I've learned about what generator season is because I live up in the Laurentians now, and my wife, who grew up in the Laurentians, said power failure is a little more frequent up north because you're surrounded by trees, and you're surrounded by trees that can come down on wires, and they do what they can to keep them at bay. But you may experience more power failures than you like. When you think about things like food in the fridge and even the football game, you'd like to get a generator. So that's one of the things that Acutech does.
They work in conjunction with a company called Generac, and if you're in the market for a generator, they can send you up, and Acutech's expertise will steer you in the right direction.
Yeah. One of the things I've got to think about is getting my we should mention, by the way, it's Acutech, ACUTECH.ca. Acutech.ca. Start there. You can find out what they do, because they do commercial work too. So if you've just recently bought a strip mall and you want to renovate, they can do that for you too. Or some people are building homes in the Laurentians, or some people are renovating complete homes. Some people now buy houses in Dollard and completely gut them. If you've done that, get a hold of Acutech.
Yeah, or they buy lots in Point Claire and tear down what's there and build a new one. Yeah. And Acutech can help you there as well.
Acutech.ca. Jess and I were talking the other day about our, now that we live up north, I have to adjust a little bit for a couple of reasons. Number one, having lived in British Columbia for 3 years, you'll notice I'm still wearing shorts.
Yes.
It's, what is it, October 16th?
Yeah.
And it was, when I left this morning, when I left the house, it was 4 degrees. And I went outside and I thought to myself, you idiot. You don't live in British Columbia anymore. One of the nice things about British Columbia is you get through most of the year without winter. It does snow. Mm-hmm. It snowed the first year we were there. And when it snowed, we moved there in July, and in December we got like 25 centimeters of snow. And I was standing outside going, gee willikers, this is really terrible. Did
you say gee willikers?
No. But you can really exist. You can wear a t-shirt and shorts. At least I did for most of the year. So I thought maybe I'm gonna have to put pants on.
I thought maybe you were just becoming one of those hardcore shorts guys.
No, because you don't want that in the middle of December.
You really don't.
Yeah. So the other thing I have to think about now that I'm Quebecer again is winter arriving, and it apparently arrives a little earlier up in the Laurentians.
And your winter tires. Had mine on for 2 weeks.
I know. I wanted you to razz me about that.
Somebody mocked me online for putting on my winter tires at the end of September. And this past week, I saw lots of pictures of people in Quebec posting pictures on Facebook of snow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think that the Mersons would put my tires on for me while I waited?
I don't know.
Yeah, me neither.
You are Terry DeMonte.
That's
you know what they'll say to you?
Who do you think you are?
No, they'll say walk down the street and have a bite to eat.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you make an appointment in advance, I'm sure they can have you in and out of there within an hour, 90 minutes at the most.
Yeah, because I used to, when I lived in town, I used to just leave the truck and go back and get it. But now I have to endeavor to get these snow tires on sooner than later.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things the Mersons have been doing for over 50 years, storing summer tires, putting on winter tires. and making sure that all of your antifreeze and brake fluid and your brakes are in good shape. In other words, making sure your car is safe for the winter, because it's important that the car be safe for the winter. And one of the reasons we've loved the Mersons for as long as we've loved them is how good they've been, not just to us, but to everybody who visits the Mersons.
Which is why people keep coming back. They're a third-generation family business, and there are customers who's been going for generations.
Yes.
You know, their granddad went, and then their dad went, and now they go to Mersons.
Yeah. Because
the Mersons take care of you. They do not sell you anything or do any kind of a service that you do not need. And I like that.
It is. That could be, well, I was going to say that could be their slogan, but
no,
I
need to articulate it better than that.
Yeah.
We don't do anything or sell you a thing if you don't need it. Merson Automotive. MersonAuto.com.
Yeah, you can. That's another.
They're going to love this commercial.
That's another place that you should go and visit the people. Remember, I was telling you were getting your tires on a few weeks ago. I was with you, and I'd forgotten how wonderful. It's a tire store and a mechanic's place, but it's really kind of lovely.
It's nice.
Because the people are so nice.
And they got a big waiting area,
Yes.
and it's clean. It's not like a dirty old garage. It's a nice shop.
Yeah.
And like you say, lovely folks.
Yeah, and a lot of service bays in the back.
Yeah.
So go see them.
Go see them.
For the love of God.
There you go. I like that better than what I tried to say. Go with that, Kara and Celso.
You can
Merson Auto, come see us for the love of God.
You can see them online.
Yeah, MersonAuto.com, or go to their Facebook page. There's a very nice picture of Celso and Kara.
Yeah.
A happy Thanksgiving picture. He's got to get a haircut, though. I don't know what he's thinking,
Yeah,
Celso.
well,
Yeah, goddamn hippie.
They'll love that too. Thanks to the Mersons. Thanks to all our sponsors. By the way, the Canadians Blood Donor Clinic is today. If you're listening to this on the Wednesday morning, the podcast is released. The Habs Blood Donor Clinic is today. And they welcome walk-ins. And when you go to the Habs Blood Donor Clinic, by the way, you never know who you're going to run into. All the players come at different times during the day. And it's a good way to drop a pint on the Red Cross. How about Lane Houston?
Lane Hudson?
Thank you.
He's fantastic.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't know how he lasted to the second round in his draft year.
That's what I was saying to Jess last night. He's just such a joy to watch. When he's on the ice, things are happening.
Yeah, he got caught in the Pittsburgh loss a couple of nights ago. He got caught up the ice.
Yeah.
And
that's okay.
Yeah,
He's 20.
I know it's gonna happen. But yeah, they're a fun, exciting team to watch.
I agree.
I'm enjoying the Habs. Hey, also tomorrow night it's Terry or Ted.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, you can't have us both. You're going to have to pick one or the other. I'll be hosting a show called Comedy Matters. It's for the Douglas Hospital Foundation. It's a fundraiser. Joey Elias is the headliner. I'm the MC, and after I enlarge the picture so I can see the small print, I'm going to tell you where it's being held. It's at a microbrewery, so there'll be some good beers there. Microbrasserie Cat Origine. How's that for a bad French accent? That's on Hymas, a little bit east of Sources. Just go online, go to my Facebook page, and you'll see the poster. Comedy Matters, hosted by yours truly, with the great Joey Elias and other special guests performing.
Thanks for reminding me, Ted, because as of this day, this coming, if you're listening to this again on the Wednesday that the episode is released, Thursday, October the 17th, I will be at the Beanfield Theater. I didn't even know there was a Beanfield Theater. This, too, is on my webpage. I got contacted by an organization called Yes Employment and Entrepreneurship. And what I love about these people that I didn't know existed, they are deeply in the English community trying to convince entrepreneurs and young people to either create businesses or work for businesses and stay in Quebec. And I loved the idea of that. It's called Yes Employment and Entrepreneurship, and they're having a Gold Rush Gala Casino night. And for some reason, they wanted me there. So I'm going to be co-hosting with some of the people there. If you want to bid and find out more about the organization, the website is, and this is weird, but tuneintoyes.com. That's tune, like TUNE, into yes.com. It's called Yes Employment and Entrepreneurship. And I'm happy that I'll be hosting that gala. They're going to raise some money with blackjack and poker and roulette and drinks. Will be appetizers. It's like a soiree at the Beanfield Theater, and it's on my Facebook page. Just type my name in, Terry DeMonte.
Try not to lose your shirt.
Yeah,
or your shorts.
I'm not much of a gambler. Are you?
No, not really. No.
That's the thing. I'm not a prude in any way, shape, or form. But boy, I really dislike the deluge of gambling ads now when you watch Premier League soccer, NFL football, baseball, even hockey.
Just goes to show you money talks, because for decades, professional sports gambling was anathema, if that's the word, to professional sports.
Yeah, and I find it kind of loathsome.
Yeah, I do too.
That they're just,
and hypocritical, and distasteful.
Yes, all of those things. Yeah. And the other thing I don't understand is how many bloody gambling websites are there?
A lot.
There's like hundreds and hundreds of them.
Yeah.
It's not my thing.
Yep. Well, there we go. Now we're never going to get a gambling sponsor.
Fuck them. I don't want them anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about the language. It's podcast. My thanks to, I guess, a co-executive producer, my wife, Jess.
Absolutely, she's the co-executive producer.
I sent somebody the presentation, the advertising presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Their immediate reaction was, "Who did this? This is amazing."
Yeah. You and Ted didn't do that, did you?
No,
nope.
we put our crayons away and left it to the professionals. Thank you, sweetheart. And also to Matthew, our producer.
Thank you, sweetheart.
To our
he's my sweetie.
To our podfathers, Pantelis and Mike Ward.
And again, to Ginger Petty for coming in.
Yeah, and Ginger
what a
Petty.
treat.
What a treat it was to meet her. And thanks for tuning in and downloading the podcast. We appreciate that very much. And one more thank you to UPS, Sugar Sammy, Ree Jewelers, the Mersons, and the good people at Acutech. We so appreciate your support. Remember, we're weekly now. So we'll see you next Wednesday.
Standing by, the Terry and Ted podcast has been brought to you by the UPS Store Canada, delivering full-service solutions for your small business.